Welcome everyone to the August 2020 TDL Member Forum. We're glad you have joined us today during what I'm sure is a really busy week for many of you as we prepare to welcome students back to our campuses in the next week or two. My name is Christy Park and I'm the director of the Texas Digital Library. I'm joined by Courtney Muma, our Deputy Director, and Leah DeForest, our Communications Manager, and a few of our members who will share announcements throughout today's forum. A couple of our usual reminders as we start. If you have questions, please feel free to use the chat window to ask those at any point during our half hour. You also have the ability to download the slides from the Files pod in the bottom of the screen here in Adobe Connect, along with a few other files that we will point out at different points in the presentation today. And as I said, we are recording this, so you'll be able to access it later on the TDL YouTube channel. I'm going to start with an update from me, as usual, followed by a few announcements about projects and services, and we'll wrap up with community news and some upcoming opportunities. And we'll end today with our usual Q&A time if we have a time at the end. So we'll start it off with some directors' updates. On July 30th, we had the great pleasure of joining our awards committee chair, Sean Buckner from Texas A&M Libraries, in recognizing this year's TDL Awards winners. And we thoroughly enjoyed getting to spend time with many of you virtually as we recapped some of TDL's efforts over the last year and honored these amazing individuals and projects that are listed on this slide. And I'm just going to do a real quick recap of these winners. The Individual Impact Award went to Ann Washington from University of Houston Libraries for her significant contributions in facilitating communities, building infrastructure, and contributing to scholarship and the profession. The LGBTQ Archive at the University of North Texas received the TDL Excellence Award for overall excellence in digital library practice. The Scholarly Communications Award went to Dr. Didi Rios from the University of the Incarnate Word for her efforts to launch the OA peer-reviewed journal Optometric Clinical Practice. The Texas Film Roundup, which is a joint project of the Texas Archive of the Moving Image and the Texas Film Commission, was recognized for its outreach efforts to gather and digitize orphaned film materials across the state of Texas. Our Student Excellence Award went to Alan Garcia from UT Austin's iSchool for his leadership in building the ATX Barrio Archive, a community archive documenting the rich stories of Latinx and African American communities in Austin. And another community archive, the San Antonio African American Community Archive and Museum, received the Trailblazer Award for their grassroots efforts to build an archive that tells the story of African Americans in the city of San Antonio. And finally, our TDL Service Award went to Chris Starcher from Texas Tech University for his leadership on the Virio Steering Committee and his contributions to the latest version of Virio 4. You can learn more about these award winners at the link on this slide, and if you missed the ceremony, you can view it on YouTube, also linked on the slide. We hope you will. If you missed it, if you joined us, it was really fun for us, and we hope it was fun for you and inspiring for you. I want to once again congratulate all of these folks for their well-deserved recognition. I'll wrap up my director updates with just a couple of administrative announcements. So first of all, after many years of hosting our monthly member forums here in Adobe Connect, we are finally saying goodbye to this platform as the university is opting to sunset this service. So starting in September, we'll be hosting these monthly forums in Zoom. You can download a calendar invite for the forum in the file pod. Looks like it's there somewhere. And we will also be sharing a Zoom link in our email reminders, so be on the lookout for that. Things will look a little different next month, but if you've been joining us for meetings and webinars frequently, we use Zoom sometimes for that, and I think we're all pretty familiar with Zoom by this point. So though things will look a little different than this, we'll still have the same structure and updates, and should be fine. But if you have any questions or suggestions, please contact us at info@tdl.org, and we hope we'll see you again next time on September 16th. Another quick administrative announcement about our regular Zoom Hangouts. Speaking of Zoom, we've moved away from a weekly schedule for these. We had been hosting them weekly, and over the last month or two, we've been having them somewhat irregularly. But starting next week, these TDL Hangouts will update to a new regular twice-a-month schedule. We'll be holding them every second and fourth Wednesday of the month from 1 to 1:45 p.m. And the next one is next week, August 26th. So we hope you'll be there. They're really fun. They are sometimes silly, sometimes serious, but always just driven by you and what you want to talk about, no agendas. And we've really been enjoying them and hope that you have and that we'll continue to see folks there. All right, so we're going to move on into service and projects updates, and I'm going to start this off with an update on our journal hosting service before I hand it over to Courtney. We are in the home stretch with our upgrades to our 73 hosted open access journals, having launched the process for the 2 remaining members in our upgrade plan. We have completed 46 site upgrades, and we're preparing to compel upgrades for some straggler journals that we haven't heard from or that have been kind of dragging their feet and letting us know that they're ready to go. So we're hoping to get this, substantially completed by early fall. We also have added 2 new journals in July and August listed here. The first is the Journal of Forensic Entomology, sponsored by Texas A&M Libraries. And we've also added a TWU student journal sponsored by the Texas Women's University Library. So we're glad to have those on board. As always, our OJS user group continues to meet monthly, led by Alexa Height at A&M Corpus Christi. And if you're managing journal hosting services at your institution, we invite you to attend and join that group. There's a link here on the slide to our wiki page about the group that will provide you with more information about how to join. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Courtney to give us some other service updates.
Thanks, Christy. Hi, everybody. So let's start with Virio 4 updates. Our Virio 4 upgrades and migrations are progressing after having hit some major roadblocks having to do with shibboleth authentication issues. Frank Smutniak, TDL's lead Virio developer, has been working nonstop on moving us ahead. We're currently up to date with the scheduled Virio 4 instance launches at partner institutions, and Frank has been working directly with staff and including IT staff to facilitate setup and configuration in the lead up to full production migrations. That Virio 4 orientation and training that we offered to our TDL Virio members has been closed captioned and is now available on TDL's YouTube channel. So it's there to watch if you weren't able to be there or if you just want to watch it again or keep it nearby as you move into your new Virio. So that link is in the slide here, and again, you can download the slides with all the links in the file pod. So as some of you are aware, the Texas Digital Library and the University of California at San Diego are nearing completion of our year-long IMLS planning grant project. We had the opportunity to share our work with the Society of American Archivists 2020 Research Forum a few weeks ago. And this Friday, TDL and UC San Diego project leads will meet again with our project partners and invited colleagues to discuss the findings of the grant so far and also get feedback on the recommendations. You can view our full agenda for the meeting by clicking on the link in the slide. At that meeting, we're going to review what our project's objectives were to begin with and what work we've done to date. We'll review the service options that we've come up with and also talk about potential service model requirements. And then we'll discuss the next steps, including further dissemination opportunities and implementation plans about how we can actually make something for preserving sensitive data happen. We plan to share a full report once the project is final. That report is likely to come in the new year, sometime in January. I'd also like to update you about the next meeting of the Web Archiving Texas Interest Group. It is next Thursday, August 27th from 11 to 12 p.m. Our WATSIG, which we lovingly call it, meets quarterly every fourth Thursday at the same time. The purpose of the Web Archiving Texas Interest Group, or WATSIG, is to build a community around web archiving in Texas, bringing people together to share skills and resources to accomplish shared goals and amplify our work that impacts the national and international web archiving community. In next week's meeting in particular, we'll update folks on the project progress and details of the Archive It Consortium through TDL, and we'll get updates from the working groups in the WATSIG who are looking at projects where we can collaborate better in Texas. The WATSIG has a listserv at tdl-watsig@utlist.utexas.edu, and again, we do have those quarterly meetings, which I'll happily invite you to if you send me a message. Anyone is welcome to join the group, whether you're working at a TDL member institution or not, so tell your friends. And again, just to request to join the list and or any of the meetings, go ahead and email info@tdl.org or email me directly, and I'll make sure you get added to that group. Handing it over to Deanne.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. This is Deanne Ivey. I'm the OER coordinator at UTSA Libraries at UT San Antonio. And I am so very pleased this morning to introduce TDL's OER Ambassadors. We began meeting over the summer, and we've prepared a special blog post for you guys to kind of get to know more about us. We're talking a little bit about our work in the blog post and our philosophy on open education. And then there are also a few surprises about us if you visit the blog. So the OER Ambassadors have committed to serve for a minimum of 2 years by developing a community of practice around OER and becoming a source of expertise for all consortium members. The ambassadors are Rusty Kimball, Science and Engineering Librarian and leader of Open Access for Student Educational Success at Texas A&M University, Lisa Lewis, Head of Research and Learning, Texas A&M University Corpus Christi, Laura Hines, OER and Instruction Assessment Librarian at Texas Tech University, Amanda Zarange, Manager of Digital Services and Scholarly Communication Librarian at Texas Women's University, Ashley Morrison, Talker Open Education Librarian at the University of Texas at Austin, and then myself, and Taylor Fairweather Leach, Scholarly Communications Librarian at West Texas A&M University. So again, you guys can click on the link to learn a little bit more about us through the blog post.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Deanne. And also just thank you to our OER ambassadors for being a part of this group. We're already off to the races, starting off with some big projects that we're going to be excited to report out in the coming months. So thanks again for presenting that, Deanne. So we'll move into some community update section. Good morning, everyone. This is Leah with TDL. We'll continue on with OER. I wanted to share a really interesting OER that was developed by a professor at Texas A&M University, Texarkana. She wrote into our Texas Higher Ed OER Google group and told us that when the Texas A&M system released campuses from work for the George Floyd memorials, Dr. Dana Layton, she's the assistant professor of psychology and director of the Peace and Justice Psychology Lab at Texas A&M Texarkana. Dr. Layton decided to create an OER for learning about racial bias and policing. She designed this OER to be very accessible to all learners, but wanted to have a special focus with social psychology. Lessons discuss stereotyping, implicit bias, biased policing, and exploration of future steps and actions to take. The OER includes an undergraduate level textbook reading and a primary source reading from American Psychologist, which is a journal. It also includes video from George Floyd's memorial service in Minnesota, several TEDx-style talks, opportunities for journaling and reflection paper assignments. Also, a certificate of completion can be generated. So for those of you who are interested in sharing this with your faculty or in any of your OER endeavors, this is currently available for a learning management system as a Blackboard lesson plan, as well as a Canvas import file. It's licensed as CC BY NC 4.0, and for those of you who don't have every single Creative Commons license memorized, like me, what that means is that you can adopt it, adapt it, and redistribute it as you like. So if you click on the links in the slide, you can learn more about this really fabulous OER, and you can download these teach-in files from either the OER Commons or the Open Science Framework site. Okay, next up, so this year's Association of Research Libraries Fall Forum is designed to help library leaders challenged with, well, a lot of challenges these days, leading their organizations, often with reduced funding. We're in a very dynamic environment, and so there's a lot of anxiety that people are dealing with, and leaders are required to make hard decisions even in the best of times. And so in light of this, the COVID-19 pandemic and continued protests against white supremacy, the ARL Fall Forum is going to explore how research libraries can keep anti-racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion at the forefront of their work, and also contribute to progress in transforming organizational culture and society for the better. One of the things that's so incredibly exciting about this opportunity is that the keynote address will be delivered by Dr. Sophia Noble. She is familiar to many of us in our community. She's an associate professor at the University of California, LA. She's the author of the book on racist and sexist algorithmic bias in commercial search engines. Many of you have read it, Algorithms of Oppression, How Search Engines Reinforce Racism. The meeting was originally scheduled to take place in DC, but now it'll be via video conference, and you can click on the slide to learn more and register for this event. A couple other conferences coming up. The USETDA 2020 conference has been changed to a free online virtual town hall meeting. It's scheduled for Wednesday, September 23rd from 1 to 6:30 p.m. So for us, that's noon to 5:30 in Central Time. The conference theme this year, Making Connections, Scholarly Communication in the Digital Age, will focus on the impact and implications of connecting scholars and research from across the country and around the world. The conference will examine the present use and availability of ETDs and related initiatives. It will also explore new and emerging ETD practices, needs, and influences that impact the administrative, graduate school, and library professionals that work with ETDs. TDL is really proud to get to be a sponsor for USETDA's 10th annual conference, and we will co-host the virtual user meetup. So if you click on the link in the slide, on the left-hand side of the slide, you can learn more and register for USETDA. The annual, well, I guess it's probably maybe in its third year now, I can't remember, but the 2020 Tax Symposium for Texas Researchers is a meeting of scientists, engineers, scholars, and students from across the state of Texas who use and would like to use the Texas Advanced Computing Center to advance their research goals. This meeting is an opportunity for you to showcase your ongoing research involving TAC resources, learn new and useful computing skills from a variety of tutorials, and network with other Texas-based researchers. You'll also hear information about the latest TAC systems and services. So this meeting will be held virtually over Zoom and Slack next month, September 17th through 18th, 2020. And now I'm going to hand things over to Tori Brown, who's from UT Libraries.
Hello, this is Tori Brown. I'm a software developer at UT and co-chair of our beloved SCSI FUG, the Southern Central States Fedora User Group. A couple months ago, David Wilcox of Fedora reached out to us to gauge interest in an online Fedora user group meeting since all the in-person meetings were canceled, and of course we were very interested. And so we spent the last couple of months just planning that, and we kicked it off. Oh, I'm sorry, I have two kindergartners here. Stop. Sorry about that. And so we kicked it off yesterday, and we're finishing it up today. And so we are hosting all of the Fedora user groups of North America. Everyone, of course, is invited, but we are keeping it around North America time zones. And so we are planning for a more European user group for our Fedora users across the pond so that we don't have to ask them to join up through in the morning. So that is in the works, and we'll keep you updated with that. And so the online Fedora user group meetings are very typical to what our SCSI FUG meetings look like. So yesterday we had Fedora updates as well as Islandora updates. And then definitely a wider variety of member updates since we have more people. So it's been very interesting and very cool. I'm glad to hear that the kindergartners' random contributions are welcome. I have included this link here in the slide, and we are updating all of the presentations. So if you look down on the schedule, you'll be able to click on the presentations and see them directly. We're also recording all the sessions, and those will be available on the Fedora YouTube. So even if you can't make it or you didn't know about yesterday's, you'll be able to go back and look at those. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Tori, and I think you gave us all smiles. So thank you for that. We love it when children join us. So I'm back to let y'all know that nominations are now being accepted for the NDSA's 2020 Innovation Awards, and will remain open through Friday, September 4th, 2020. The NDSA Innovation Awards were established to recognize and encourage innovation in the field of digital preservation stewardship. These awards highlight and commend creative individuals, projects, organizations, educators, and future stewards, demonstrating originality and excellence in their contributions to the field of digital preservation. There's a series of blog posts currently on the NDSA website highlighting past winners. And you can also find information about all of the past winners there, including TDL, who won a few years ago. These awards focus on recognizing excellence in one or more of the following areas. Individuals who make significant innovative contributions to the digital preservation community, projects whose goals or outcomes represent an inventive, meaningful addition to the understanding or processes required for successful, sustainable digital preservation stewardship, organizations taking an innovative approach to providing support and guidance to the digital preservation community, future stewards, especially students, but also including educators, trainers, or curricular endeavors taking a creative approach to advancing the knowledge of digital preservation issues and practices, and also
Courtney, we lost your sound. I'm not sure what happened there.
So I think we lost Courtney for a second here, but she was wrapping up with the information about the NDSA Innovation Awards. So we'll just wrap this slide up by encouraging you to go to this, the link on this slide, learn more about the Innovation Awards and how you can nominate folks for those. We hope you'll do that. I'll hand it over to Leah to continue with the remaining slides.
Okay, thanks, Christy. So just real quick, we're about to wrap up here, but I just wanted to share that TDL is super excited to partner with the Texas Oral History Association, who I think has a really cool logo, by the way, for an upcoming webinar series. Planned topics are going to include an intro to oral history metadata standards, and ideas for bridging the gap between the oral historian and the archivist. Our speakers and webinar coordinators are going to be Abra Schnur. She's the University Archivist and Records Manager with Trinity University. Adrienne Kane. She's the Assistant Director with the Institute for Oral History at Baylor University. Stephen Seeloff. He's the Senior Editor and Collections Manager at the Institute for Oral History with Baylor. And finally, Jenna Heath, who's the Associate Dean of Arts and Humanities, Associate Professor of Journalism and Digital Media, and coordinator of the Journalism and Digital Media program at St. Edward's University. This series will be free and open to anyone who's interested in learning more from this amazing group, and we're going to kick off October 29th. Keep your eye out for more information and details on registration, which will be coming soon. And then this same group, the Texas Oral History Association, is having their 9th annual conference next month. It'll be virtual, September 11th through 12th, online. It's free. You can learn more and register at the link above. And that's it from me. So back to you, Christy.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Leah. And thanks to all of our speakers today, Tori, Deanne, Courtney, and Leah, for providing some awesome information. Apologies for the technical difficulties on our end. If there are questions, we do have 2 minutes in the hour to answer those, so please feel free to ask those in chat. And I see one from Santi. I know that TDL has conducted site visits to identify community needs. Yes, we refer to it as the member census. Were the census results ever announced or shared out? So yes, in part, those results were shared out in the TDL State of the Union and TDL Awards ceremony. So many of the kind of high-level results were shared out there, and we are still preparing a more formal report with those results that we will share out at the end of the summer, which is fast approaching. But certainly by September 1, we will have that report out. So I would encourage you to go to the slides from the award ceremony, State of TDL address, and the recording from that as a kind of interim resource. And John Krosno asks about the Hangout, if there will be one next week, and Leah has already answered, but I'll answer verbally as well that yes, we have the next one August 26th. Any other questions? Well, thank you all for joining us. I just want to wrap up by wishing all of you a safe and successful fall semester as things get started this week here at UT, and I'm sure for many of you as well. For those of you who are involved in reopening physical spaces and in-person library services, just want you to know we're thinking about you and wishing you all the best as we, enter a new phase of the experience that we're all living in right now. And we are on behalf of TDL, I think I can say we're really in awe of the adaptability and commitment that library workers across our membership and across Texas have shown in handling the difficulties of the current moment. So, you know, be safe and be well. As TDL can support you in prioritizing online access to resources, we want to do that and hope that you'll reach out with any requests or any ideas for us to work collaboratively. And with that, we'll wrap it up for today. We hope we'll see you again next month. And be safe and be well in the meantime. Thanks, everybody.